Have you ever heard of RARSfest? I haven't, but apparently it is the biggest ham fest you'll find on the East Coast. Let's talk about that. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hamshack TV. I'm your host, Josh, AA4WX, right here on Hamshack TV. And today we have an awesome guest. I am pleased to welcome Nancy, KB2 TNR, to Hamshack TV. She is the chairperson for RARSfest 2025. And we're excited to have you on. Appreciate you coming in today, Nancy.
Thank you so much for having me on, Josh. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, before we get into HAMFest, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you got into ham radio and how you got involved with the Raleigh Amateur Radio Society.
Sure. So you could tell by the call sign, I am a two-lander. I got my call sign actually in New York. I grew up in the suburbs of New York City, and my husband, I was newly married on a dare. Told me to go in and take the test, and I did without studying, and only failed it like by 2 questions, and then I doubled down and passed it. Actually, ironically, I got my call sign 1 year to the day after our first date. We call that our hamiversary, and it's February 13th, and we celebrate that the day before Valentine's Day. So there you go. So I've been a ham, active on and off, more active. We lived up in New England. Where in the late 90s, cell phones were available, but coverage was not. So that was really the only way you could do any sort of communications, car to home. We ended up moving to Florida with an HOA that was more buttoned down with regulations. And both my husband and I were off the air for about 5 years. But I now live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we purchased a house specifically in a non-HOA community. And I've become a little bit more active on radio. So the way I became involved in RARSfest, I've been a ham this February, will be 30 years. I was not a member of our local club, which is the Raleigh Amateur Radio Society. And they had had a ham fest for like 49 years running. It was a solid event, went from being in a shopping mall parking lot to being into the Jim Graham building, which is the very large building on the North Carolina State Fairgrounds. And they canceled in 2020. Yep. 2021, I get it. And they were going to cancel in 2022. They were in a Zoom meeting. My husband's on the board of directors. And when I heard them say that they were going to cancel in 2022, I jumped in behind my husband and I said, if you cancel in 2022, forget it. People will move on. Don't just ask for your money back. Don't even bother, because you're going to just lose your mojo. You're not going to have people to do it. You might lose the venue. You might lose the dealers. And they said, well, we don't have anybody to run it. And I said, I'll do it. What do you know about running HAMFest? Not a lot, but I run big events at my school all the time, and I think I can handle it. And I went and educated myself. I started dragging my husband to HAMFest, and he will tell you in the last 3 years, he's been to more HAMFests in the last 3 years than he had been in his entire 65-year existence up until then. To see how everybody else was doing HAMFest, from the very big to the very small. And I'm committed to bringing a great event. This is a regional event that not a lot of people know about, and that's why I'm on here tonight, to make sure that you know that this is the place. If you go to Orlando, or you go to Dayton, or you go to Huntsville, you should also give Raleigh a look.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, it certainly has gotten my interest. And let's talk about RARSfest. For those that are not familiar with RARSfest, what is it, and why is it significant to the ham radio community?
Well, it's one of the problems is a little in the branding. Like, RARS is Raleigh Amateur Radio Society. So if you don't know that, you wouldn't know where we are. We are in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is in the center of the state. We're actually very convenient to like 85 and Route 40 and a whole bunch of different places. It's a very old and established ham fest. And it's important because over the past few years, and COVID is partly responsible for this, I feel, but it's running HAMFest is a lot of work, and more of the smaller clubs have just given up on having HAMFests. Like it's dwindled from a fest to a tailgate to like, I'm too tired. Forget about it. Let somebody else do the HAMFest. And HAMFests are important. It's important to the whole hobby. It's not great. I take no pleasure when I find that like a HAMFest is not happening right away. I'm like, can I help you? What do you need? Is it advice? Is it, I try, it diminishes our whole hobby. Whenever a HAMFest goes away, it's not great. And the people that do go, they're kind of like, I'm part of a dying thing. And I'm trying to get people to feel like, no, we're not part of the dying hobby. Look at all the help hams did during Hurricane Helene. And if that didn't light a fire under some people, I don't know what will, but ham radio is important. And a ham fest is so much more than just buying and selling, because whether it be like used gear in the flea market or new gear from a dealer, there's absolutely nothing that you cannot find on the internet. You can do it sitting at home, having a beer, never having to leave the comfort of your desk chair. What you don't get is the person-to-person connection. And I have found out that that is the singular most important aspect of a ham fest, for people to feel face-to-face as part of this community, where people have all their different niche interests. They're a CW guy, they're a contester person, they're a POTA person, but we are in this hobby for some common ground, this weird arcane kind of hobby that, people, until there's a disaster, never hear about us. But last couple of months they really have. So it's like RARSfest is just really well located on the East Coast. It's like the biggest thing. I mean, there may be one like Nearfest up in New Hampshire that might be bigger than us, but we are in a building that's almost 100,000 square feet. It's the size of Huntsville, Alabama, but you probably haven't heard of us. And that's what I'm here to change people's hearts and minds. So it's all indoors. It's the flea market, the dealers, all of it is all indoors. People, when they come to sell, they can drive right to their spot, which is great if you're on the selling end. Climate control, which is great if you're on the shopping end. It's really suitable for people that need to use mobility devices and stuff. Free parking. Parking is right adjacent to the building, and it's right off several major highways in North Carolina. So we've got flea market gear. We've got new people, which I'll get to in a second. We do testing. We do forums, satellite demonstrations. We have a lot going on for a HAMFest that you possibly haven't heard about. We've really got a lot of things going for all different interests.
Well, that's fantastic. And you brought up a good point. Your ham fest is indoors, and the time of year that this one is, which is April. Those of us that are in the South, I'm just across the border in Tennessee from you. We know that the weather, you don't know what you're going to get in April. You could have snow, you could have severe weather, you could have heat. But the fact of the matter is, this is indoors, and it's going to be comfortable to walk around and enjoy everything that you see there. Um, I do want to ask you, what are some of the most important highlights that you're planning this year, as far as highlights of vendors and maybe attractions, different forums, that kind of thing? What are the highest things that you're excited about for this?
Well, I'm always excited when we can bring major vendors to a HAMFest the size of ours. So we are a one-day HAMFest, full disclosure, but we are a solid one-day HAMFest. So, you will not be disappointed if you make that trip out to Raleigh. As you see, if you check our website, you can see that Ham Radio Outlet and Chat Radio have already confirmed that they're coming. And if you're in the state of North Carolina, you are well aware that we have 0 ham radio stores in North Carolina. And yes, you can go online and buy anything, but some people like to just touch and try and actually see the gear. So they bring like a pretty considerable amount of gear out to us every year. We've got all kinds of people that do maker things. We've got Phase Doc, and they work really heavily in educational communities with robotics. And speaking of robotics, we've got First Robotics organization is bringing multiple robotics clubs to us. And that was a tough sell to my club when I said, I want to start bringing robotics in. And they're like, we're a ham radio club. We're not a robot club. Yes, because You're not going to get a 12-year-old. As long as iPhones exist in the world, you're not going to get a 12-year-old on. But if I've got robots playing basketball, which I have had, and they see a 20-year-old with something that looks like a PlayStation controller, it's like, how did you make it shoot the basket? That's radio. Oh, now we can have a conversation about how radio works. So one of the things I like to remind people is that when a huge amount of our demographic got started in radio, and let's be honest, those are people 60s, 70s, and older, got involved in radio. Communications cost real money. It costs money to talk next door or like outside of your area code. You waited until 7, you waited until 9. International was off the table. So ham radio was a great way that you could do communications over distance without a lot of money. The other thing that people forget when I say I'm bringing in makers and people with 3D printing and whatnot is they have forgotten that when they were young, there was a publication called Popular Electronics. My dad got that. And you would have, it was an original DIY space where people could read about a project, tear out your page, it's got your build list, and you went to a magical place called Radio Shack. And when you walked in there, you saw a pegboard full of possibilities. It was kind of like the Michaels of its day, or Joann's, or Hobby Lobby, or whatever crafty things float your boat. And people have forgotten that, like they were an original maker, whether it be those components from Radio Shack or Heath Kit. And we have to embrace that hams have always been very creative and interested in tinkering and problem solving. Buying a radio off the shelf is great, but there's a lot of people that still like to mess around with stuff like that and figure out how things work. So I see you've got pulled up there. There's a floor plan. And you can see like it's a big flea market area. We've got a maker island with a robot corral. We've got Skywarn. We've got traffic service. We've got a great one of our own guys. He does a great presentation on public service and how that is so important. If you're a biker or a runner, like you can thank a ham radio person for keeping you safe. In addition to, as I said, chat, HRO, Quicksilver, Wireman. I'm probably leaving out a bunch of people. And we got some people that do like badges and stuff. But one of the things I pride myself on is when you come to RARSfest, the dealers you see are going to be radio dealers, or what I call radio adjacent. They could be the person that do the call sign ball caps or the shack signs, but you're not going to find jewelry, candles. I'm so sorry to disappoint you, but it's all about radio. And we've got plenty of people that can do those spaces and float your boat from all that kind of stuff.
You mean to tell me we won't see leaf filter there?
You will not see, if you have unmet gutter filtering needs, I will not be able to help you. No, I won't. And I see those guys everywhere, and I don't get it. But, hey, maybe every once in a while they get somebody. So when I put it like this perspective, I go to a lot of HAMFests. Like I have a booth up in Xenia and 5280, I think that's the Tesla building. You can come out and see me. I'll be down in Orlando. And yeah, those are really far for people to drive to RARSfest. But I tell you, about once every half an hour, somebody will stop by and say, my brother-in-law lives in Raleigh. My kid wants to look at colleges in Raleigh. They'll find some other thing. I wanted to go out to the coast anyway. Why not give it a shot? So, as we say in New York, you don't ask, you don't get. So,
right.
But you're going to see radio and electronics. We've got some great vehicles. I don't know if it's on there. It says forum events activities on there. I don't know if there's a thing there's probably a page up there. It's a static vehicle.
Yeah, right here.
On the website.
On the website?
On the website, there's there to actually see photos. Comms vehicle static display. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
So the little yellow one, that's a local radio club. And where they took a decommissioned ambulance and turned it into a ham shack. And let me tell you why that's important. Every year, the state fair, which is obviously huge in North Carolina, they bring that little van out and they talk about ham radio and how it can be used. And on an average year, and it's a 2-week event, maybe they'll get 1,000 people. We had about 3,500 people stop by this year. I actually went out there a couple of days to man that booth. People are just wanting to learn about radio. We had people that would walk by and say, oh yeah, I wanted to do it, but that Morse code, oh, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that anymore. If that was your barrier to entering the hobby, that barrier no longer exists. And that's, re-energizing them. People that had relatives out in the mountains that said, I don't ever want to be in a position where I can't communicate with my family. It's not like it's really important for people to understand, because probably in Tennessee too, in South Carolina, every local news outlet had a story about how hams were helping communications and working with local agencies to help people get the information and resources they need. The one on the far right, that's the IEEE emergency vehicle. That's something that's you don't want to see it roll into your town, because that means that bad things have happened. But you do want to see it because that is a complete mobile operations with radio. I mean, if you don't, it's radio, it's telephone, it's computers. So they will roll down your street, and they will be a complete communications platform for people to get in contact with the outside world. The center picture is actually, it's like it's a homebrew showing what you can do if you just have one of those little garden trailers and a lot of room. That he brings that out and he cranks it up and has it up in our tower. So we've got all different kinds of vehicles that come out, because ham radio is a really big hobby that's got many interests, from emergency communications and preparedness to contesting and doing things with sport. It's all there. Having a vehicle that can take you on your POTA and SOTA adventures. We try to have vehicles showing that for everybody.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about the forums. I know I was just there a minute ago. I know some people, some people come out to these things for the sales, and some of them come out to learn. And
So,
I love that. So talk
well,
about some of these forums.
yeah. So forums are really tricky, like on a one-day HAMFest, because on the one hand, you don't want to miss that deal, right? You don't want to go into a forum. And actually, usually the way we structure ours is we have two forum rooms, and one of them is fully involved in testing. So, and depending upon how many people show up. So this is last year's schedule. We are at this year in ARRL state convention. That's probably going to get condensed down a bit to 1 hour. We've had people do digital modes. The thing that is always packed to the rafters is Skywarn training. And for people out there, if you are interested in that, but you're not a ham, and you just want to learn about the Skywarn thing, you do not have to pay to get in to do Skywarn training. That is free. That is part of their mandate. We've done things like the Choose Your Own Adventure, where Brantley all of a sudden came up with this idea. He goes, everybody, they go in and they'll take this test. And we actually stacked it right after the testing was over. And he goes, and if you're a novice, you know what bands you can operate on, but you don't know what you can do and how many different activities about fox hunting and contesting and all the different stuff that you can do. So right now, the form schedule is not completely set. We will always do Skywarn because it is just ever popular. But forums are a little tricky, because if you think about it, you're on YouTube and we're doing this. On some level, the internet exists, right? So you can read from ARRL's website, and you can read different people's websites and different things. You can watch YouTube on a lot of this stuff. But again, it always comes back down to the human connection, the ability to, if that's your so a topic that you're interested in, that about the digital modes, then I can ask that person right away. I don't have to do a chat or send an email, or you can ask that question right away. So we're still firming that up, trying to bring some great things to people. Hopefully, it's kind of hard to hit everybody's high note, because people can be very specific hams in the things that they're interested in. So yeah, we have tried to do things that kind of hit everything. And one of the other things that's really popular, it's actually outside, is we always have satellite communications demonstration, where rain or shine, we've got John Breyer's out there talking to satellites, and we'll tell people what time you can go to watch those satellites pass. And that is also a great thing for kids to see, like, oh my gosh, I can make contact, and we're just outside with,
Talking about that picture right there.
Picture right there. That's him. He's great.
Well, awesome. One thing I do want to ask you about, you brought up here on this channel, we are big fans of people getting their licenses. And I happen to be a VE myself. But you said y'all are offering license exams. What VEC are you using, and what is
We use Laurel is our
Laurel?
yeah. And like I will tell you, if you're a ham and you're qualified, please try to volunteer to be an examiner. Nothing is more hard. It's, I guess, equally heartbreaking to not have testing happen, or not because you don't have enough testers to make it happen, right? You need those people. So what we do, and it's not a hard and fast thing, we try to get people to register so we can get a feel for how much staff we need. And I will tell you, this last year, we had a man that he's been a VE for a very long time, but the man who had done it for years passed away. The person that had this like locked, and I didn't even ask him anything. I just, here's your room. He made all the arrangements. We had a new person. There were a couple of bumps in the road because we had a lot more people than we expected. So we have people that we ask to register, but you never know if they're going to roll into that next exam or not. You don't know how long they're going to take to do an exam. And, you know, and you don't want to turn people away that are walk-ins. As long as they've got that FRN number, you want to be able to accommodate them. But it's really important to do that. It's not, we do that in the beginning, so then they can, maybe we've got their license, and maybe hopefully there's an Elmer out there waiting for them out in the waiting room that can walk them around and talk to them about gear and stuff like that. We actually had to cancel one of our forum sessions because testing ran so long. So please, if your club steps up and asks you to help out with testing in any way, shape, or form, please help them out with that. It's really important to keep the hobby going.
Yeah, and in my experience now, I've done most of my VE testing online, but I have worked with some. It's a lot of fun to be a VE. It really is. Give it a try if you haven't already. Now, you said you all use Laurel, and if I remember correctly, Laurel does not have an exam fee, correct?
That's correct. I feel the only fee you have to do is to the FCC. That's the only thing you have to do. And honestly, and I feel like people are still a little surprised about that you need that FRN number every once in a while. But I also feel like it's not great to have like 50 people show up that trying to register for that FRN number, because we don't have that many computers to have them do that registration and stuff. But yes, there's not a charge for that. And if at our HAMFest, if you're a new ham, you get membership in our club. You get free admission to the HAMFest because we want you to stay. We would love for you to test. We'd love you to stick around and see what's out there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, talk about the community. You know, we talked about these things are not just about forums or buying and selling stuff. Talk about the relationships that are built and people meeting up and having eyeball QSOs. How have you experienced that at RARSfest?
So it's been really interesting, and I will tell you, until I did this, you'd have to drag me kicking and screaming to a HAMFest. We have a lot of gear in our house. Every time my husband brings something home, I would be like, "Don't we have something like that?" But it never is, because all radios look black in the dark, right? So they're all the same. And so the first year that I did RARSfest, I'm walking around on the floor, and as you can see from the little inset he put, I wear a bright pink vest, and I actually have a tiara putting on for you right now. That is got my call sign on it right here. All right. So you got any questions, problems, and complaints? Look for the lady with the crown, and she will help you with all your problems. Anyway, I'm walking around the floor. I shake hands with every vendor, every flea marketer, every person I can get a hold of. And this couple walked up to me. They were an older couple, and they said, "We want to thank you for making sure RARSfest happened this year." I said, "My pleasure." And the woman was giggling, and she's like, "It's our date weekend." And I looked at her and I said, "Oh, honey, we have to talk. Date weekend." And the husband said, "Hear me out. Where they lived in the rurals of North Carolina. And the deal is they come out to RARSfest, and she walks around with him for the hours of the flea market. But we got some real nice malls here and restaurants and stuff. And it truly is their date weekend." And then, we've also had different clubs say, "Hey, can you put something on your website that if you're from this area or you're this club, we're going to do a meetup at this like sports bar or something like that." Just like informal things. RARSfest, because of its location in the central part of North Carolina, and we've got Lenovo here in Sass, some big corporations. Well, people retire to the mountains, they retire to the beach, and I hear time after time, hey, I'll see you at RARSfest, I'll meet you at RARSfest, or other HAMFests that I've gone to up in Berryville, that it's a place where people meet up because they've got this common ground. They may not have seen each other for a year or years, and they get together and they walk around, and maybe they go and have a burger or something afterwards. It's just so important. I love it when I see parents and their kids, and I would love to see more kids, which is why I keep doing the robotics and the maker spaces. People, if you're under 16 and you're with an adult, you get into RARSfest for free. And if you're a part of any of the groups that do exhibitions for us, like robotics, if you're over that and you're a college age student, you're going to get in for free. We offer a free table space for clubs, not to sell merchandise. They can't do consignment, but to promote your club, sell memberships, because I want people to know what's out there. So sometimes you're surprised, like, oh, I didn't know there was a club, like, might not be in your town, but it might be one town over. It's really very much a part of building this community, because, as I said before, together we're stronger. Whenever a HAMFest goes away, whenever a field day goes away because of lack of people to run it, and all those things take a tremendous amount of people to run it, it's all diminished, and it's just sad, and I don't ever want to see it go away, and the struggle is real. So go out there, support your local HAMFest. Even if you don't come to RARSfest, get to that local tailgate, get to that local swap, and try to get to those meetings. Show people that you really are supportive of what your club's doing.
Outstanding. Well, one other thing I want to point out that I just noticed, if you weren't convinced to go to RARSfest yet, check out these door prizes. Grand prize of a FTDX10 from Yaesu, and FTM 500 for first prize, and just some great stuff there. ICOM 2730, and looks like a volunteer prizes. I guess that goes towards your volunteers.
Well, no, and actually I just bought one of those myself, because I found out that I borrowed one of my husband's HTs, but I couldn't get a headset to go with it, and it was some particular, like, Kenwood, that had some weird connector that, like, has never existed before or after. And we were actually at HRO in Georgia last week, and we drove by to see them, and I was like, I want to buy radio, and and they go in a headset with it, and so it's a great little radio, a little tricky to program, but it's a great little radio. So that's when I will be rocking there. Actually, one of the things I'd like you to do is, if you scroll up to the top, there's so many. So for people that are looking, it's like we are about 5 hours from Atlanta. We're about 5 hours from Washington, D.C. We are about 4 hours from Asheville, 2.5 from Charlotte. I'm trying to think of about 3.5 from Richmond. Trying to give some highlights of other, but all those are like major highways to get to us. As far as travel and lodging, there's certainly hotels. If you're an RVer, there's boondock parking right next to the building. If you want full service like services right on the fairgrounds, like not even a quarter mile away, they've got full service RV camping, and Raleigh's got a lot to offer. We've last year the Hurricanes played the Friday night before our HAMFest and the Sunday afternoon. There's usually multiple events going on on the fairgrounds, from monster truck pulls to collectible trading. If there might be other things that do it for your family. Actually, I'd like you to go to the About tab for a second and meet that RARSfest 2025 staff. So I want to make sure that people know, like, I might be the little face up there that you're seeing now, but all of these people, they are just amazing what they have done, and their professionalism and their expertise and their passion for doing a job correctly. I'm not RARSfest. I could not do it with these people. And underneath these people, we probably have like 150 volunteers. And the lifeblood of any HAMFest are volunteers. If you do not have volunteers, you're not going to have a HAMFest. You will not have a good experience for your dealers, getting them set up and everything squared away with them, or your flea market people. We want everybody to have a great time, because believe me, if people go through and they take video and whatever, and if they waited what they thought was a ridiculous time at admissions or in the food line, we hear about it and we try to do whatever we can the moment of, but we want everybody to have a great experience. So this is the team that reports to me, and each one's got their little specific, area that they're responsible for. But this would not happen with all of these people and the other 150 or so volunteers, which are drawn from outside of our club. We have a very large club, but not everybody lives in the area. So over the next couple of weeks and months, I go out to a lot of ham club meetings and talk to them about, and we go to other HAMFests too and volunteer our time, because to say it again, we're all stronger together. We all need each other. Ham clubs need each other. Nobody can exist in a vacuum in this hobby. So
yeah, and that's a good point, especially going out to the ham fest and stuff, because we know that these ham fests, they're friendly competitive, but they're not directly competing with each other. You all set up at Huntsville and Dayton, and they'll come set up at your place, and Dayton as well, and Orlando, and it's a friendly thing. Nobody competes like for blood or anything like that. So Hamfest,
it's not the Hunger Games. So
no,
what you're looking for, you're not going to find it. But but I go to a lot of Hamfests because I'm always willing to learn. I mean, I feel like every year we've improved it, but there's always room for improvement. And I've had people come to me. I've had people pick my brain, and it's like when you say, well, your mileage may vary. It's like, well, this is what works for us in our area and our market, but here's something that I saw you do that you might want to think about. So one of the things, and this is like such a tricky thing to say, Hamfests are a business. And when I say that, I don't mean like we're in it to like make tons of money, because Hamfests do not make tons of money. You're doing great if you cover your expenses. And if you make some money for your club to keep that repeater going, good for you, because that's really where clubs get their money from. That being said, you have to look at where you can maximize your impact and cut expenses. So when some Hamfests, and I see Hamfests that are struggling, and because they're doing things the way they did it 20, 30 years ago. So, if you're mailing out flyers, which is something that we did the first year that I took over and had been the history of RARSfest, we mailed out 10,000 flyers to the list that we gave to ARRL of the zip codes we wanted to hit. Well, that means you already know your net. You're just casting your net where you've always fished, right? And you're going to overfish that spot if you keep on going to that same place. That 10,000 flyers cost about $6,000. That's more than we were paying for that huge building. And you have to get smarter about this. It's like, okay, I don't know what my return of investment is on something like that. Did you really respond to the flyer? You got it in the mail. You friend gave it to you. You heard about it on a net. It stuck to your shoe when you were in a parking lot somewhere. So we use a lot like with social media. And so if you're in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Virginia, West Virginia, RARSfest is an entity. I probably am a member of your club or a member of your Facebook group. And anybody that's out there watching, please reach out and go on RARSfest Facebook and say, hey, count me in, or share whatever you want to share with me. But that has been extremely effective to leverage it. Does that get everybody that the flyer people get? No, but I mean, we at some point, I will tell you, if I could not go to my mailbox, I think all it is just coupons for things that I don't use. I kind of tune out a lot of the stuff that's just like a blanket mailing unless it's personally directed to me. So when I say it's like a business, you have to do things that really capture people's hearts and imaginations and to be where they are with whatever communications needs speak to them the most.
Yeah, and how many times do we go to our mailbox, open up the mailbox, and we see all those coupons and things in there, and unless you're a couponer like my XYL is, you're pretty much sending that kind of stuff to file 13. So yeah, I can certainly see how you have to be smart with that kind of thing. Well, I'll tell you what, is there anything else that we have not hit that you want to share with
Oh
the
my gosh,
audience here?
let me think about this, because this I feel like I'm going to walk away and I unplug my mouse, so now I can't see what I put my microphone in to take out my mouse. Um, I think we hit on all the things. Here's something that's really big. If you're a dealer, if you're like a person like that's, you make little antennas, and you're like a radio person, please give us a look out. I'm always on the hunt for new dealers. That's one of the reasons why I go to big HAMFest, because there's always people that are young, new companies, and some of those big companies that you know, like Quicksilver, they started out as a small little operation at one point too. So if you're a dealer, I would love to hear from you. Especially, you've got to be like ham radio stuff, or as they say, adjacent, taps, shack signs, stuff like that. Love to hear dealers. If you know of a forum, somebody that would love to come out and talk to us, I'm always interested in a variety of forum ideas. Like, I know what has worked in the past, but if there's like, if you're doing something cool in packet radio, which is, having a moment again after a bit of a lapse for a couple of decades, I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you're doing. That's cool. I mean, don't hide your light under a bushel. Like, let's get your word out there. And I would love to see as many people doing forums and as many, vendors and dealers as possible.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I tell you what, I think you've sold me. Like I said in the intro, I have never heard of RARSfest. I saw it in passing at Huntsville, and it just never it didn't click. And then one of my subscribers, got in the comments and said, "Hey, you need to look up RARSfest." And sure enough, if I'm not impressed, so you will see me come April, come hell or high water.
Yeah, please come out. Like, and actually, one of the things I need to do is, I've never really gotten a great video of the Hamfest. I did
Mhm.
better this year. Actually, one of the jobs I added was I had a fleet, and basically they were those guys' kids. It's like, you got a camera, you got a phone, just take pictures. Take pictures of people, and don't just give me pictures of what's on a table, because that doesn't tell me anything about the event. I want to see people interacting, people smiling, people laughing. I want you to capture the vibe of what's going on. And this year, my goal is to actually have somebody that's a videographer to actually get me some live video. Because I will tell you, you can go out on YouTube and you'll see like people's walkthrough of RARSfest, and overwhelmingly they're just scans of tables. And
Mhm.
that's great. But by the time they post it, the event's over. And whatever is like, oh, that was a cool radio. Oh, well, yeah, that event was a week ago. So even if you wanted it, I couldn't get it. So, please give us a try. And you can contact us we are rarsfest.org. And I'm quite sure that Josh will put something in
Yep.
there about that, in the comments about that. You can email me. I am rarsfest@rars.org if you have any questions, comments, you want to know more about it. And when you go on that RARSfest website, if you scroll all the way down, it'll say subscribe to RARSfest News. That actually will put you on a mailing list. It's all the way at the bottom. There you go. Please subscribe me. That actually goes to me, directly to me. I see every single one that goes through there. I promise you, I will not spam you. You will get an email in a couple of weeks, because the tickets are going on sale January 30th. That was important. That was a really big thing. So tickets and tables can be purchased online. And online, we do PayPal, we do Apple Pay, we do Google Pay, all different kinds of things. We do not mail tickets out to people. That's one way that you can control your costs. You can pick them up, but you can, and we also do credit card. You can do credit card at the door, and that will save you cash in that flea market area. So please subscribe to RARSfest News, and hopefully, please, and if you see this video and you came to RARSfest because you saw this video, please look for me and say, I saw you, and tell me what you think. I would love to know. I want to get some feedback on how we're doing.
Well, fantastic. Well, Nancy, it's been a pleasure having you on. I'm really looking forward to this. All I had on my calendar to look forward to is Dalton, Georgia next month, and Hamvention in May. But hey, I've got a big one before that I'm going to be going to. So
Great.
I'm looking forward to it. But appreciate having you on. folks, go check it out. Go check out RARSfest.org. You'll see a link down in the description down below. And if you haven't already, click that subscribe button down below for more information from Hamshack TV. We will be posting videos. If I hear from Nancy, I will be doing some updates here in our videos and that kind of stuff as we get closer to RARSfest 2025, April 5th at the North Carolina Fairgrounds in Raleigh, North Carolina. That's it for now, folks. We'll see you on the next one. 73s. This is AA4WX WSCB 693.